Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this first edition here in the COVID crisis shutdown of Fighting Phillies daily lunchtime update here. And as you can see by the screen here, this isn't the first time that I've done this. Got to go back many years, though. As you can see on the screen here, back to 2008, I was trying to launch a daily video/audio show, which lasted a little bit of time. Some nice things came out of that, but time and other considerations took over, so I changed up and went with just the blog and the podcast. But just reliving some of those memories going back to 2008 here. I'm looking at the screenshots of the MLB. Very interesting there. Taking a look around the Phillies news today. It's April 10th, 2020. And not too much news coming out of official Major League Baseball as far as any start times or anything like that. There was a big announcement today right here on the right-hand side of the screen. 30 stars to compete in MLB The Show League, which kicks off tonight. I'm going to have it over at FightinPhilliescom starting around 9 p.m.
A small finger, a worm,
a lamppost,
tiny sword.
Hope to get that off the ground for you as much as I can here during the COVID crisis off time.
15 minutes could save you.
And here I'm trying to turn this commercial off there. And yeah, it's given me the time to do that. This isn't my full-time job, so I'm filling in, making the most of my off time here, and I'm going to be able to broadcast this right from FightinPhilliescom tonight on Friday night, Good Friday, April 10th, 9 p.m. I'm going to scout a game. Amir Garrett from the Cincinnati Reds, one of the favorites to win this virtual type of game, will be kicking off against Blake Snell tonight at 9 p.m. There's about 4 games scheduled. And then, of course, Rhys Hoskins, who represents the Phillies, will go on Saturday night at 9 p.m. All the games starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's going to be a a late night for me. I don't know about you, but with this COVID crisis, I've been trying to get my rest, and this will give me a chance to stay up a little later. Other components to this league, we got Luke Jackson from the Braves in NL East, Ryan Stanek from the Marlins, Jeff McNeil from the Mets, Juan Soto from the Nationals, and of course, like I said, Rhys Hoskins representing the Phillies. There's one player for every team in the league. Looking over to another former Philly, I was surprised to see his name in this list, and that, of course, is our former first baseman over in the AL Central here, Carlos Santana, representing the Indians. A few of you may remember a few years ago the famous incident in September, which Santana went into the clubhouse and bashed a TV, ruining it when some players were, gathered around the video game that they were playing while a game was going on, apparently. And that didn't sit too well with Carlos, even though he himself is a gamer. Of course, he took the bat to the TV in the Phillies clubhouse, and that was the end of the TV and probably the game for that night for the players that were around there. Interesting that the name of players never did get released, but here Santana is back on his video game prowess, and he'll be entertaining as well as Rhys Hoskins. So interesting. Of course, they run the daily simulations each day. Different sites do. I'll go over to Baseball Reference real quick here. And they, of course, run a daily simulated game here using Out of the Park Baseball 21 for their daily type of thing. Here the Phillies have already probably played for today with that summary, that simulcasted simulated type setup that Out of the Park Baseball runs. And if you listen to the Phillies Talk podcast, I was saying that I'd love to get one of these video games, but I just don't want to delve hours into them to learn them and then start playing them. And here's today's result for April 10th. No surprise, hey, the Phillies lost. This Out of the Park Baseball has been not a friend of the Phillies here for 2020. Cincinnati Reds apparently beating them 8-6 today in this simulated game. And let's take a look at the box score here. Doubles. We had Segura with a double. Jay Bruce with a double. Home runs. Hoskins. Speaking of Rhys Hoskins, rather. His third of the year in the first inning. Didi Gregorius hitting a home run today, according to the Out of the Park Baseball simulation. Let's check out some other. Caught stealing. Roman Quinn is first of the season. For the Reds, double Votto. Joey Votto gets a double here. Akamaya, I want to pronounce his name. Double there. For the home runs. And this guy's been hurting the Phillies a lot since he's not on the team anymore. Freddie Galvis, the home run, his third of the year. And Nick Castellanos here as well with a home run. Looking at the starting pitchers, it was Nick Pivetta, according to Out of the Park Baseball here. He's 0-2 with a balloony 15.12 ERA. So Nick Pivetta not doing too well in the Out of the Park Baseball type of simulated game here. Got the loss today. For the Reds, it was Castillo. He won the game, pitched 5.1 innings, giving up 8 hits, 6 runs, 5 of which were earned, 8 strikeouts on the day, compared to Pivetta, only 2 strikeouts. And I'm so glad this isn't real, because I would be really upset with a performance like this. But there you see, in this simulated setup, they have the Phillies at 3-11 on the season, which I don't know where they get that. They're so far from the truth on that. I think the Phillies would probably be 11-3 on a regular season if the games were started as they should have been by now. But that's what's going on with the MLB The Show and the simulation today, already taking place there, and results generally available by around noon over at baseballreference.com. Nice
We're going to
website
bring in
here.
Joe
One of my
Girardi
favorites.
right now, our former colleague here at the network and now manager of the Phillies. Joe, give me your take on what's happening.
And I do not like when websites automatically start playing audio. That's one of my pet peeves. I almost don't go to those sites because of it. Major League Baseball somehow does that occasionally. But here was the Phillies Grapefruit League performance here. 14-5, led the whole Grapefruit League with a 7.37 winning percentage. I can't understand why this Out of the Park Baseball have the Phillies at 3-11. It's amazing. There's a picture of Andrew McCutchen, if you're watching the video screenshot show here for the lunch update here on Good Friday, April 10th, and Andrew McCutchen rocking a He says, a poor rendition of me going to the store for the first time since the pandemic began with an embarrassing DIY mask on, or at least I thought. So it's quite a mask that he's got there, and it is a video. Let's see what the video looks like on it. He's sort of modeling a little bit from side to side, and yeah, it's huge, huge makeup there of what he had covering the face there. Apparently, some comedic stuff that he's known for, and this is no different here. Andrew McCutcheon with a little humor here, an embarrassing DIY mask on, but looking around, and maybe it's not that embarrassing now. All right, jumping over to the next story here for today. Again, these are going to be short videos that you can watch on the website over at FightinPhilliescom. As I was mentioning before, if you didn't check it out, do yourself a favor and subscribe to the Phillies Talk podcast, which is based here at FightinPhilliescom. My co-host Matt Veazey is a well-respected Phillies researcher and writer. He has his own website called PhilliesBell.com that he's really developing more and more. In fact, let's go over to Phillies Bell. We'll give that a plug while I'm talking about it here. I like to check it out as much as I can and see what he's up to here. And here's a nice redesigned website that he has on the site. It's gone through a couple different changes since the start of the 2020 say March time frame here. And here's an article that he released today here. Phillies 50 Forgotten 2016. Cedric Hunter. Yeah, a 50 series on random Phillies players from 71 to 2019 that are forgotten. And yeah, I can say he's forgotten in my mind. I don't hardly remember Cedric Hunter. In fact, I don't remember him at all. So good call there, Matt. Excellent choice. Larry Schenk is contributing some things to over at Matt's site at PhilliesBell.com, and he's of course a long time Phillies PR rep, goes back into the early 70s with the team, the late 60s. Excuse me. I've had him on Phillies Talk podcast a few years ago. It was a pleasure to speak to him then. And that's Matt's site over at PhilliesBell.com. He's my co-host on Phillies Talk podcast. He's got a little spot for us over in the media section here, which he talks about here being a podcast. The current Phillies Bell podcast partner is Phillies Talk, provided through Fightin' Phillies by host Rich Baxter. Thank you very much, Matt. This is awesome. Of course, with Matt's appearances on the show, he's been doing that show with me now for a couple years, so great to have Matt on the show, bringing his knowledge and Phillies fan fever, if you want to call it that, with him here over at PhilliesBell.com. So check it out. One of the best places to find it on the web. And I know baseball podcasts are hard to find, the independent ones. Go over to Google Podcasts and just search for Phillies Talk Podcast. You can even put my name down there, Rich Baxter, because there is another Phillies Talk podcast by NBC Sports that just started up this year, 2020. They renamed their At the Yard podcast to Phillies Talk Podcast. So now there's two that I know of. But here's our latest show. 20 hours ago it was put up here on the Google Podcasts. And it's 47 minutes long. A talk with nice baseball historian Lou Schiff. He's got a Twitter site, Baseball and the Law hashtag. You can search that and bring his contributions up. We were talking about the history of Phillies Sunday baseball yesterday and some COVID crisis talk, when we may see baseball again. That was an interesting part of the whole thing. So just head on over to Google Podcasts. It's one of the easiest places I find. Or, of course, you can head over to FightinPhilliescom and find the link right on the main page for that. And, of course, our home for podcasting in the last few months here has been Anchor.fm. They don't charge me anything for this, so I thank them for that. We make $1 or $2, maybe a day on it. Here's the current listening locations. 92% out of United States. Got 2% in the UK, a couple percent in Sweden. So we're around the world with this show. Mainly our listeners are coming from Apple Podcasts, and we thank them. Anchor with a 10%, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Spotify, other 15%. I'd love to see Google Podcasts pick up with that, because they're good service. It's an easy page, as you can see. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. To start a show is right down here in the center of the bottom of the screen. You just hit the little triangle button here, and you'll be listening to Phillies Talk Podcast.
Listeners know all about the great platform for podcasting over at Anchor.
They even have a skip
If you haven't heard about the Anchor app today,
or
go to anchor.fm to get started.
Seconds.
Hi, this is Gary Matthews. You're
that's
listening.
The way it sounds. So it's a great offering. Google Podcast, check it out. Fightin' Phillies Talk Podcast is actually the name of the show. So I'd love to see you stop by there. And here's the website, FightinPhilliescom. I revitalized this website. It for years was hosted over at blogger.com. I moved it to an independent host a couple years ago and had a nice time of that. Then this year I then moved to another hosting company and did a complete redo of the blog, how it displays, things like that. The main page here, you're going to get a list of the last 12 or so posts that are on the page. They scroll across the top. You can link to the Phillies Talk Podcast right there in the second portion of the front page. You can go down a little bit. Here's today's one of today's posts, or yesterday's post. MLB The Show was a game played last night, and every night they do have simulcast games of simulated games, the way the game would look if it was played on this video game. Let's check it out for a second here on the site at Fightin'
Hey
Phillies.
there, baseball fans. This is Ben Gelman from MLB The Show. Today we get to bring you a fun National League matchup featuring the visiting Philadelphia Phillies and the Cincinnati Reds at Great American Ballpark. First, let's take a closer look at the pitchers for this showdown. Righty Jake Arrieta gets the ball for the Phillies, facing the team that drafted him out of high school in Texas. He went 8-8 with a 4.64 ERA in 24 starts in 2019, marking the first time his ERA had finished above 4 since 2013.
So that's
However, he is
cool,
5-1.
See and hear there, the game starts out with some commentary. And then let's listen to some in-game commentary.
Really fast. So the next hitter to dig in will be Andrew McCutchen. And we are set for baseball here this evening. Gets a good piece of it there, but this is fouled off toward the third base coaching box.
First pitch, 640.
1-1 to Andrew McCutchen.
And as you can hear there, that is Matt Vasgersian that you can hear on the play-by-play of that game. A nice call. He was joined by Mark DeRosa and Dan Plesac. Heidi Watney was doing some on-field commentary for this game. Very interesting. I hung in there the whole game as it simulcasted right here on FightinPhilliescom as well. So I'll be tuning into that later. They sort of have it at the time that the regular games are almost supposed to start. So I'll be checking that out again tonight as the Phillies carry on their series with the Cincinnati Reds. They'd be in Cincinnati for a 4-game series that started last night, Good Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. So the season that isn't happening yet is still going on digitally around the league, and that's with all the teams, not just the Phillies. So, all right, well, I hope you liked this first, don't know if I want to call it a lunchtime, an afternoon Phillies update, a video type of show for you, and I hope you enjoy it, and if there's a following for it and a call for it, I'll do a lot more. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you over at Fightin' Phillies tonight.